Women harassment is one of the most persistent global problems affecting millions of women regardless of age, social status, or location. It manifests in different ways, ranging from verbal abuse and unwanted physical advances to cyber harassment and workplace discrimination. While harassment exists in both developing and developed countries, the intensity, perception, reporting, and prevention mechanisms differ significantly. Understanding these differences is important for building safer societies and creating effective policies that protect women everywhere. For beginner readers, this exploration offers a simple yet deep dive into why harassment takes place, how it looks different across the world, and what steps can be taken to address it on a global scale. In developing countries, harassment is often influenced by cultural norms, weak legal systems, lack of awareness, and limited access to education. Many women face harassment in public spaces, workplaces, and even within their own families. Street harassment, catcalling, groping in crowded areas, and forced advances are common examples. In rural areas, women may face harassment in the form of forced marriages, restrictions on mobility, and abuse linked to patriarchal traditions. The lack of gender sensitization and widespread acceptance of male dominance create an environment where harassment becomes normalized and rarely challenged. Fear of social stigma further discourages women from reporting harassment, leading to underrepresentation in statistics and limited accountability for perpetrators. In contrast, developed countries present a different picture. Harassment still exists, but its nature and the mechanisms to address it are more advanced. Women in developed countries may experience sexual harassment in workplaces, online bullying, or discrimination based on gender. However, the presence of stronger laws, active women's rights organizations, and greater public awareness often empower victims to speak up and demand justice. Movements like FemMeToo have shown how women in developed nations are increasingly vocal about their experiences, creating cultural shifts in workplaces, politics, and media industries. Still, harassment in developed countries is not less harmful. It may be more subtle, hidden behind corporate structures, power dynamics, or social media anonymity. When comparing both contexts, one of the major differences lies in how harassment is reported and addressed. In developing countries, underreporting is a huge challenge due to fear of family backlash, lack of trust in law enforcement, or threats from perpetrators. Women may also lack access to safe reporting mechanisms, making it nearly impossible to pursue justice. On the other hand, developed nations generally provide more avenues for women to seek support, such as hotlines, workplace grievance systems, and legal aid. Yet, even in these countries, women sometimes hesitate to report due to career concerns, victim blaming, or fear of reputational damage. Another important point is the role of technology. In many developing countries, limited digital literacy and internet access mean that online harassment is less documented, even though it does occur. Women using social media often face harassment through offensive comments, unsolicited messages, or fake accounts. In developed countries, online harassment is more visible and widely discussed, with specific laws and cybercrime units addressing such issues. However, the global nature of the internet makes online harassment a shared challenge across both developed and developing societies. The psychological and emotional impact of harassment is universal. Women who face harassment often experience anxiety, depression, loss of confidence, and reduced productivity at work or school. In developing countries, this emotional damage is often combined with economic dependence and lack of access to therapy or support services, which worsens the long-term effects. In developed countries, while counseling and support groups may be more accessible, stigma and workplace politics still create barriers for women seeking help. Cultural silence is another factor that highlights the divide between developing and developed nations. In many traditional societies, discussing harassment is seen as taboo. Victims are often blamed for dressing in a certain way or for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Families may pressure women to remain silent to protect honor. This culture of silence allows perpetrators to continue unchecked and discourages women from fighting for justice. In contrast, developed countries generally encourage open conversations about harassment with educational programs, workplace trainings, and media coverage promoting awareness. Nevertheless, some forms of subtle silencing still occur, especially in male-dominated industries where victims fear career repercussions. Legal frameworks also show a major difference. Developed countries typically have well-defined sexual harassment laws and anti-discrimination policies. These laws, combined with human rights organizations and watchdogs, create a stronger deterrent against harassment. However, enforcement may vary depending on institutional biases and the willingness of victims to pursue cases. In developing countries, laws may exist on paper but are often weakly enforced due to corruption, lack of training in law enforcement, or deep-rooted patriarchal attitudes. For example, police officers may dismiss women's complaints, or court cases may drag on for years without resolution, discouraging others from filing similar complaints. Economic independence plays a significant role in shaping the harassment experience in both contexts. Women in developed countries often have more opportunities for financial independence, which can provide a stronger foundation to resist harassment, leave toxic environments, or seek legal help. In developing nations, economic dependence on men often forces women to tolerate harassment, especially in workplaces or households, since speaking out could mean losing their income or social support. This creates a cycle where harassment is endured rather than challenged. Education is another crucial factor. Higher literacy rates and gender equality education in developed nations help create awareness from a young age about respect, boundaries, and women's rights. In many developing nations, lack of education limits women's awareness of their rights and men's understanding of gender equality. Without knowledge, both victims and perpetrators remain trapped in systems that perpetuate harassment. Globalization has also influenced how harassment is viewed and fought against. International organized nations, World Health Organization, and non-governmental organizations have been active in addressing women's rights issues worldwide. Campaigns for gender equality, digital safety, and workplace reforms have spread across borders, helping both developing and developed nations learn from each other. Social media movements have connected women from different countries, allowing them to share stories, strategies, and support. For example, while Me Too started in the West, it spread rapidly to South Asia, Africa, and Latin America, giving women a platform to voice their experiences even in conservative societies. Despite these differences, the common thread remains harassment continues to harm women in both developing and developed countries. No country has fully eliminated the problem. Developed nations may offer better support systems, but harassment persists in subtle or hidden forms. Developing nations may face more visible and widespread harassment, but cultural resilience, grassroots activism, and the courage of women have sparked change in many regions. The fight against harassment is therefore not about comparing which region suffers more, but about understanding the unique challenges each faces and working together for solutions. Solutions must be multidimensional. In developing countries, strengthening legal frameworks, promoting gender equality education, empowering women economically, and creating safe reporting mechanisms are key steps. Civil society organizations and activists play a vital role in breaking cultural silence and building community support. In developed countries, the focus should be on closing loopholes in workplace policies, strengthening online safety measures, and addressing subtle power dynamics that still discourage women from speaking out. Both contexts benefit from men's involvement in gender equality movements, since sustainable change requires shifting societal attitudes, not just empowering women alone. Parents, teachers, policymakers, and media must work together to build cultures where respect, equality, and safety are the norm. Schools should include gender sensitivity education, workplaces should enforce zero-tolerance policies, and governments must ensure justice systems are swift and accessible. Media must highlight positive role models and stories of change instead of reinforcing stereotypes. International collaboration is also vital, as harassment is not confined by borders. Sharing successful practices, supporting cross-country initiatives, and empowering global solidarity will ensure that no woman feels alone in her struggle. Women harassment in developing versus developed countries is not just a comparison of statistics. It is a reflection of how societies value safety, equality, and dignity. For beginner readers, the takeaway is clear: harassment is a global issue, but the ways it shows up and is addressed differ widely. Developing countries face challenges rooted in poverty, culture, and weak systems, while developed countries struggle with subtle discrimination, digital abuse, and systemic power imbalances. Both require continuous efforts, awareness, and accountability. The ultimate goal is a world where women can walk freely without fear, work without discrimination, and live without constant threats to their dignity. Achieving this requires education, legal reforms, economic empowerment, and global solidarity. Every reader can play a part, whether by educating themselves, supporting victims, challenging stereotypes, or advocating for stronger laws. Harassment thrives on silence, but awareness and action can break that cycle. Call to action. If you believe in building a safer and more equal world for women, start today by raising awareness in your community, supporting organizations that fight harassment, and challenging harmful attitudes whenever you see them. Share this knowledge, be an ally, and use your voice to create change. Together, we can make sure the future is one where every woman is respected, protected, and empowered.